Are we live? We're ready to go, right? Hey, welcome to this normally Friday, but today is Wednesday. Welcome to this Wednesday's live stream here on the Townsend's channel. Whew, it has been such a hectic month, and it's going to continue to be really, really busy. We're doing it on Wednesday here because Friday we're going to be at Martin Station. And hey, I would try to do it live from Martin Station, but they've got like zero reception there with cell phones or anything, so it's really hard to get a message out. So we're doing it today, and I'm not even sure what the Friday after this Friday is going to be like because so much stuff is going on. So you may see the schedule rearrange a little bit here on these live streams, but we're having lots of fun. I'm John Townsend, and the guys behind the scenes here, Aaron's on the tech console making the live stream do its thing and all the other cool stuff. That's Aaron. On the hot seat with the questions, Kyle is back.
Hello.
So, there's Kyle. And keeping me in line, Ryan.
Hello.
Ryan's back doing that job, which I need to be done because I forget all the stuff I'm supposed to be doing. Support things. A lot of people like to support the channel, help us do what we're doing. There's several different ways you can do that. One of those ways is Super Chat here on YouTube itself, so you can give a little bit of money and it shows up in the comments section and all that good stuff. That's a way to help support us. Patreon is another way. We've got multiple Patreon supporters. I don't know, 300. I don't even know what the number is anymore, but great, wonderful people that help us. And Patreon is one of those ways that you can support us a little bit each month. And there's a link in the description section. You can go check out the Patreon site and our link there. Also, one of the ways you can help support us is by purchasing things on the website. And today we'll be talking about a particular item on the website. There'll be a link in the description section. So if you want an item from James Townsend & Son, that's a great way to help support us. What else am I missing, Ryan?
Well, you were just at the Great Appalachian Homesteading Conference.
So
how was that?
Let me run down what we've been doing and why it's so difficult for us to get going here. I mean, it might look like nothing's happening on the channel, but behind the scenes here, things are just going like 60. So earlier this month, or just the end of April, beginning of May, we were at Locust Grove shooting a particular set of videos that featured Carol and Frank Jarbo. They've been you've seen them on the channel before. The grave robber, what was it? Resurrectionist episode, and the sort of pastor episode. Those folks, we're doing a special project with them, so watch out for that. That'll be a long, a kind of a almost feature-length piece that we're working on for them, and we'll be seeing them at Martin Station this weekend. What else? Oh, yeah, I just got back this weekend from the Great Appalachian Homesteading Conference. That's a conference put on by Patara of Appalachia's Homestead, something like that. We put a link. Really want to thank her for, kind of reaching out to us for that particular event, and I had such a great time speaking at that conference. And I put a link to her YouTube channel, or Aaron's put a link to her YouTube channel in the description section. Such a wonderful reception by all those folks that came to the conference. It was really a lot of fun, and it's a different kind of audience that we're normally used to. So that was great interacting with those folks. I know I ran into Southern Arc Homesteading. That's a YouTube channel. And what was the other one? It was Preppersteaders or Prepsteaders, another great YouTube channel. So interaction with a lot of different people, and it was a lot of fun. If you were at the conference, thank you so much for interacting. It was a lot of fun. What else? Oh yeah, and what's coming up is Martin Station this weekend. If you're in that Western Virginia area or Southern Kentucky, or what is that, sort of Eastern Tennessee area, Northern Eastern Tennessee, if you're in that area, you're close to that very western tip of Virginia, Martin Station is a go-to event this time of year. It is beautiful. All the pictures are like the banner on the YouTube site right now. That is Martin Station. And we've done a bunch of videos there in the past. What we did, the Jim Wilson interview, the Boone Morrison interview, which poor Boone has just recently passed away, but you can see that episode here on the channel. We've done an interview with Billy Heck, who runs Martin Station. And let's see, the basket weaver episode, Tim Williams, the rifle maker, and Bill Maddox, who did the spoons. So we've shot a lot of videos there. It's a wonderful event. It's really the kind of go-to at this time of year. So if you're in that area, and hey, you might even see us, Ryan and I, and even Ivy will be down at the event this weekend. It will be tremendous. So
there's a link in the description section.
There's a link in the description section.
If anyone's interested.
Yeah.
Let me do a donation real quick.
Oh, great.
10.99 euro. I think that's euro. Yeah. From the Voice of Science.
Thank you.
Greetings from Italy. Love your contents and the passion you put in it. What about a video about military rations in the 18th, 19th century?
Great.
Doesn't matter the country.
Yeah, well, they're all kind of similar and very related in that time period. And if you go back to the very first cooking episode we did, when we started to do cooking episodes, I'll say it like that. It is about military rations in the time period, but as old as that is, it's probably time to sort of re-up that. In fact, I was looking at military rations information like 45 minutes ago. So right on topic, perfect content, and the episode that I'm working on is related to that same topic. So thank you so much for that suggestion.
Yeah, and then $10 from Adopted Parasite.
Wow, Adopted Parasite. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love the quality and effort you put into your videos.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We got an Instagram winner.
Instagram winner. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about what the Instagram contest is?
Yes. Each week we go through Instagram looking at the Townsend's hashtag, looking for Instagram posts that are related to what we do here on the channel. So historical things, merch things, recipes that we do, whatever it is. We pick out a winner and we send them a virtual gift card for purchasing things on the website as a thank you. And so if you want to participate, and so you can do that by using the hashtag Townsend's and make sure it's a picture that relates to the channel in some way. You can also help us find that by tagging our Instagram channel, which is Townsend's _official. And so who's this week's winner?
This one is from Stephanie Noose, and her sign, her @ is SDNUCE.
Yeah.
She's got great content. You should go follow her on Instagram. Really cool channel. And this is little Wyatt. He was Davy Crockett at an event, and he spent 2 or 3 hours portraying him. Did a really great job. He looks really awesome. So good job, Wyatt. That's really cool.
Yeah, excellent. I love they show up in my stream. I love watching their Instagram pictures. So that's a lot of fun. And thank you so much for participating that way. Have you sent them a DM yet or anything?
No,
like that?
I was going to after the stream.
So if you're guys are watching, you'll get that really soon.
Hey, $25 from Blake.
Thank you,
comment.
Blake.
Hey, Blake, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support,
so
Blake.
Awesome.
Yeah,
appreciate it. I don't want to do the last name because I think
you'll mess it up.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Probably will.
That's all right. But thank you, Blake. We see you right there. So thanks so much.
Hey, I think it's time to move on to some questions. You got some, Kyle?
Hey, Kyle.
I have a couple. Are there any conflicts between Christian denominations in the Americas?
Yes. That was easy.
Thank you. Moving on. Would you like to expound on that, Jeff?
Okay, I'll expound on that. Just boom, right off the top of my head, the Charles Wood Mason diary, which we've read from before, and it was in a 1 or 2 episodes, the Charles Wood Mason diary. I don't know that it's currently in print, but you can find used versions on Amazon. Really great research. It's I think it says something like I can't remember the title of it, something like Backcountry and South Carolina is in there, but Charles Wood Mason is the author, and it's a diary from this traveling itinerant pastor for the Anglican Church or the Episcopal Church. I think it's basically Anglican in that time period, and he's in that backwoods of South Carolina, and he really talks about that, maybe not violent, but certainly a clash of Christian cultures that is going on in that backcountry. And so you've got him sort of from the official church of England and of the colony, basically. And then he's talking about that interaction between him and the Baptist segments and Presbyterian segments of that same population, and how much sort of friction there is. So there's definitely a quantity of friction, and then other times you see them getting along pretty well. So it's interesting to read that diary for that interaction alone. But there's so much more in that diary to really learn about what the backcountry is like. It's really interesting to see. There is not a ton of information about that kind of area. You know, the people in those backcountry areas weren't necessarily. I wouldn't say that they weren't illiterate necessarily. Undoubtedly, it's more illiterate than the standard population right there along the coast, but they don't tend to have a chance to write. They are busy, so they're not writing big diaries. So Charles Wood Mason's diary, perfect for that.
So real quick, Kyle says that he's got a little bit of a shortage of questions, and this is just a Q&A. We don't have anything really planned, so anything.
I have stuff planned.
Oh, you have a lot planned?
I always have stuff planned.
ready.
Excuse me, I'm
so ready.
I'm incorrect, but get some questions in there, guys.
Yes, and after I told you that, Ryan, they started rolling in. So
Good.
here we go.
Good. Perfect.
I don't know
Hey,
why
I'm going to
here.
make some tea really quick.
Yeah, why don't you just stay over there, Ryan?
So the product of today are these tea bowls. I got some of these tea bowls recently. What? I'm supposed to hold it up. It's got nutmeg, and I don't want it to all pour out. Anyway, tea bowls of the time period. During this time period and late 17th century, early 18th century, and then 18th century, tea bowls are a thing. Not all just tea cups, but tea bowls. And they get imported along with the tea. And it's kind of difficult to find tea bowls today that are close to an 18th century designed tea bowl. So I have to go digging through lots and lots of manufacturers until I find something that's anywhere close. These are actually remarkably close to decorations that you will find on 18th century tea bowls. Very simplistic designs. And this one's got a little design in the bottom. These are pretty close. They've got the little rice pattern that kind of you can see through. Too bad I don't have a light back here so you can see through it. But
Well,
it's
if you
got a
go
little.
to the link
on
the website, you can see it even better.
On the website, you can see it. There's a link down in the description section. These are on sale right now. So I'm going to make some tea, though.
They're on a super duper sale, actually.
Yeah, they're on a super duper sale.
We marked them down, and then we marked them down again.
Wow.
Just for the live.
And I'm using some of that colonial bohea tea that I used back when we did the tea episode, the live tea episode here. I don't know.
I'm going to drop a link to that
Whoops.
tea
Ouch.
real quick
Sorry.
in the comments section.
Yeah.
It's Amazon.
There's an Amazon link, but we'll get this
Super good tea.
tea steepified.
Oh, look at that. 18th century.
Hey,
pot.
shh.
Looks great next to that 18th century
Whenever
microwave.
I
Right.
try to use, whenever I say, "Oh, guys, I'm gonna heat this water up using the period stuff," they don't want to be choked out of the studio with smoke, and so now
It's always our fault.
I'm getting. Yes, it's their
You
fault.
can just never win.
Yes, the answer is it's their fault.
All right, questions.
Okay, so question is, I wonder what some common exercises were in the 18th century. Common exercises.
Chopping wood. That's a good one. Walking. They didn't. There wasn't a lot of, say, physical Swedish exercises that kind of show up in the 18th century. They certainly talk about exercise, but they don't talk about it beyond exercise. You know, they don't come up with particular let's say, regimes that you need to do. They just expect that you're going to figure that out. When they talk about it at all, normally people did not necessarily leave that sedentary lifestyle, so they didn't have a lot of problem with that. And those that did, they just got gout or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, other than, they worked.
Well, it just seems like everything they did was
Yeah.
a workout.
Well, yeah, it was a
day-to-day
workout.
life.
Right.
Strenuous living.
I know they had those motors with the strap that goes around your back, and it was horse powered though, right?
No. See what I have to put up with here.
Oh, man. I had to read this question a couple times so I could understand it, so I'm going to try not to
Mess it up.
butcher it here.
Good.
How were men treated or viewed if it was discovered that they cultivated their feminine side or preferred women's work, like cooking?
Well, I mean, cooking specifically wasn't necessarily a woman's work in the 18th century, and definitely was not looked upon as necessarily a strictly feminine job, let's say. Okay, so you'll see, chefs and cooks all the time. But in a household situation, normally that was a female job. So in the 18th century, and specifically within England and in North America, you guys like the tough questions, don't you?
You should drink some more of that nutmeg, whatever you got
So far,
there,
we've learned about female obla jobs.
Man. Hey, while you gather your thoughts,
Yes.
I'm going to do a donation. All right? And then we'll go back to this. $19.99. $19.99.
Okay.
Not $1,999. From Drew.
Drew,
Thanks, Drew.
I would love to hear more about nautical life in the 18th century, military and otherwise. Love you guys. Keep it up. Thank you so much. That sounds like a cool video.
There's a lot. There is so much there, and there's some folks that would be really good for that topic, and I will try to touch base with them as soon as I can. I mean, I can deliver some of that, but there's some other folks that have been, studying that and are doing a great job with that. So, yeah.
I saw somebody earlier. I meant to point this out. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. Somebody who comments a lot. They didn't realize that Boone died.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about him a little bit, like just kind of who he was?
Yeah, Boone was currently located out in Hawaii. He was an architect, and he was just in the last 10 years of his life or so, I believe, very, very involved in reenacting, and specifically going to Martin Station and connecting with his Daniel Boone ancestry. So really, go back and check out that episode. It's really, really good. And he passed away earlier this year. I think it was a month or two ago. So yeah, in Hawaii. And even last year, he was not able to make it to Martin Station because of, I believe, health issues. So, yeah.
Thankfully, they said that he went into sleep.
Yes.
So it was best way you could go.
Yeah, exactly. So am I going back to my topic at hand here?
You got it.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So if we talk about acting out specifically on these tendencies, and I'm guessing he's talking about homosexuality and specifically sodomy, things like that, that was still illegal in Great Britain. And there certainly you see that acted out upon. If there was proof of that, that was against the law, and they punished that. And in naval certain situations, same deal. That was very specific. Now, when it gets to North America, I don't know that necessarily is, let's say, enforced in anything like the same way. But I don't have that knowledge off the top of my head, so I cannot really read to that specifically. Now, just, if there isn't specific knowledge of those kinds of acts, you'll see that's not uncommon for that to show up in those societies. And I'm not sure how that was necessarily viewed upon by the general population. I think it was normal to see that a little bit and you'll see reactions to it. So it's not so strange that it would not show up at all. I think it's a standard stereotype in the 18th century. So I don't know how to answer it beyond that.
Yeah.
There you
go. What's a common easy drink made during that particular time during the summer?
Well, we've done Switchel, which is a great episode, and that is a really typical summer drink. I'm doing research right now on things like ginger beer and spruce beer, which show up very, very commonly in 18th century, especially North American situations, which you might see. Those are sort of small beers and green beers, which can be done all throughout the year, and you don't necessarily have to age them a long time, and they can be brewed up very rapidly. So
we did that video on Pennsylvania Swanky.
Yeah, Pennsylvania Swanky,
example.
that's a good one, and even the ginger beer episode. Those are good episodes to check out for those types of drinks.
Let me do a couple donations real quick. A couple have come in. Let me scroll down to them. So many comments. $5 from Ayures.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the topic of nautical stuff, do you know much about river/lake piracy in the 18th, 19th century? And then, so we'll answer that one. And then $10 from William Price. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What of Scandinavian heritage, I think in the early colonies, or like, was that a thing? Love the channel. Keep up the good work. Okay, so
let's hold
river, lake piracy, and then Scandinavian.
Well, there is certainly a lot of, I don't know about lake specifically, because that's not necessarily right here, but during the Revolutionary War, if you connect piracy and privateering, which are related, you certainly have a lot of coastal/river privateering things going on. And so that, and rivers and inlets are a perfect opportunity to have these small boats kind of, hidden, and then they see a ship that's coming along the coast and they run out from these rivers and attack shipping for that sort of purpose. That's going to happen a lot in the Revolutionary War, and they actually had like rogue galleys and ships like that would, just for that kind of purposes. So that's definitely a thing going on right there in the Revolutionary War. Probably similar things happening throughout that time period. What was the other question?
It was
Scandinavian.
Oh yeah,
What of
Scandinavian. Sure.
heritage in
Right.
the early colonies.
Here's Peter Kalm talks about Swedish colonies going on. Actually, before the Dutch are in the New York and New Jersey area, the Swedes are there. And so there is colonization of these northern countries going on in the New World. And of course, you'll have a lot of the Dutch, you'll have a lot of German, the Swedish, and even Finnish. They're kind of related there in that time period. I think Kalm himself was Finnish, not Swedish. But I don't know about that. So yeah, there's those things going on very, very early in the colonial history in North America. But you still have, even after the English have really kind of solidified their hold on the New World, you still have all these different folks from those areas coming in and populating North America. They just tend to go in little enclaves so that obviously, if you're going to the New World, you're going to try to set up your household close to people that are from your same area. So you end up building these little, colonies within a colony of related peoples.
I want to do one more donation because why not? $10 from Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Saw the Lamb in a Blanket episode.
Yeah.
And he's wondering, are there any good lamb recipes that survived from that era? If so, can we expect another lamb video?
Lamb does show up in the English cookbooks in the 18th century. I haven't picked out any specifically because lamb isn't an easy cut for us to get a hold of here. I mean, it shows up in the grocery stores. It's just not one of those ones that is real common. But it is one that I should specifically work a little bit harder on, and I will ask Frank about what he's got. A couple of different people I will see this weekend at Martin Station who have mentioned lamb and sheep-related dishes, so I'll touch base with them, see what they have to say.
Nice.
Questions?
Yeah.
Alrighty. What did folks do to keep their foods cold in the deep heat of summer?
Well, the cellars were very common for that purpose, to keep things cool, and you do see spring houses, especially later on in the 18th and definitely in the 19th century. You see spring houses where they would have a spring coming out of the hillside, and they would have a little house built right there. Many times using it for dairy, to keep that cool, and other things were kept in your spring house to keep them cool in those summer months so that they didn't go bad, or you could extend their use longer.
How common were oil lanterns? I know people used greased lanterns back in the day, but I'm not sure about oil lanterns.
Well, oil per se in its liquid form is a little bit more difficult to come up with. But you see a lot of those four-cornered oil lamps and even multi-cornered oil lamps. I'm not sure how to describe them. You'll see these sort of multi-wicked oil lamps or grease lamps in Diderot's encyclopedia, like in a workshop where you need a lot of light. They'll have these sort of oil lamps with 6 or 8 different little V slots in them so that they can get lots and lots of light in this and not have to resort to using candles, because candles are a very expensive light source, at least compared to something that would use a waste or leftover oil or grease, depending on what kind of oil animal that it came from, animal generally that it came from. So you'll see Betty lamps, the basically the single fluted ones, very, very common.
Hey, if you've got anything that you had prepared that you want to read, we should probably get to that.
I don't have to read that. I don't have to read anything.
You have enough questions, Kyle, to keep going?
Oh, I got some good ones. Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Good.
Do you have any plans to do any old recipes from Nordic settlers, Norwegian, Swedish, etc.?
I will try. We have the set of, or was that a German one? Which? Swedish. There we go. So we have a set of 3 or 4 Swedish recipes that we've been looking at. It's kind of balancing. We had someone there in Sweden help us out.
I'm pretty sure that there's a lamb one in there, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
That might be able to get 2 birds with one stone there.
It's just, it's hard to balance all the things that we've got in the pipeline and getting them done. So, yeah.
Did people coming to America from other countries have to go through anything to become an English citizen?
I'm going to say depends on the time period and not anything that comes to my mind. I haven't read anything that sort of says, you've got to register, or, I don't know that they would become a citizen of anything but the colony. I think, I don't have a good answer for that. I'm going to say, I don't know.
What is your opinion about the Whiskey Rebellion?
I think it was bad.
Okay.
Can you expound on the Whiskey Rebellion?
Whiskey Rebellion. What happens when one of the best ways for you to move your crop or sell your crop is to change your giant load of grain that you have to deliver someplace into a highly concentrated liquid form that's still very valuable. And that's exactly what corn whiskey is, especially to the back colonies in the late 18th century. We can grow corn, but the only way I can get it to market effectively is to turn it into a valuable liquid, and that is whiskey. and these guys were making this, and they didn't want to be highly taxed upon that. And the United States at the time needed a lot of funds, and they decided, no, we're going to tax that. And so the farmers rebel against that kind of application of tax. And the government went out there with a stick and whacked them one. And that's the Whiskey Rebellion in a strange, I don't know why I described it, nutshell.
Well, I'm unclear, so maybe they are too.
Yeah.
What side of it is bad? What you said it's bad.
Well, I don't think that George Washington at the time that was the best way to deal with that particular tax revolt, by going out with an army and killing people or attacking them. So, I don't know what the answer. That's my quick take on the Whiskey Rebellion, but I haven't read a ton on that real recently.
How bad were diseases like diabetes in early America?
Well, I'm not sure what the period term for diabetes was, and I'm not sure that it was recognized particularly. The only one that's kind of close at hand that shows up and is gout, and that's of course not related at all. So I'm going to say that it wasn't a particularly common ailment, at least that shows up in the medicine books that I've read. And I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably somebody else that could chime in on that better about how it was related, or if they even recognized it in the 18th century.
Can you recommend a book that discusses customs and mannerisms of average colonials? I feel like this would help with character persona for reenacting.
There are probably a couple, and I don't know boy. I think there's an Everyday Life in Colonial America book, but I don't know who the author is, and I have not read it completely to recommend it. If I was going to recommend something that I would look at it very holistically and look at several different journals and what people were saying to give you an idea about the reactions of what people thought about those habits and their differences from, let's say, what's going on in England or in other parts of Europe. And the ones that actually come to mind are Peter Kalm's journal, because he relates a lot about what common people are doing and their behaviors compared to what's going on in Europe, those are the interesting things. When somebody from outside of a particular area comes into the area and they talk about it, all of a sudden you get an idea about what's weird, because the people within that area are not going to talk about their standard everyday behaviors, because that's the water they swim in, right? So Peter Kalm is a great example of this, and he talks about these behaviors of people. Another one would be Charles Wood Mason, where he sees the behavior of the people in the backcountry, and he talks about that. And so you get an idea about some of those things. And even Nicholas Cresswell's journal, which I talk about like every day, and everybody's tired of me hearing about Nicholas Cresswell's journal. It's another one that gives you an idea about what the different people's behaviors are and how that kind of pops to the surface.
This question says, you have an amazing memory recall, and your books are filled with sticky notes. What research style helps you?
Yes, all my books are filled with sticky notes. Well, that's how we remember the place, right? So my typical method is to just read the book, start to finish. And that's one of the reasons why I like physical books instead of a digital book. Digital books are great for searching a particular word, especially when they have been, let's say, digitized in that way. The books on books.google.com are really handy for that, although the search engine is really annoying in that you'll know a word is within a particular book. You'll do this search and it's like, oh, I can't find it. It's there. They just didn't they just didn't index it properly. So, but digital books are great for that. But when I want to research a book and I really want to find what's there, I actually have to grab up the physical book and just start reading. And generally what happens is I'll be reading through a book and it's like, oh, there's an interesting idea. Boop, I'll sticky note it. I have a particular kind of memory for things that I see in books that is not, let's say, photographic, but I'll kind of get a sense of, oh yeah, that was in the bottom corner of this one book about a third of the way through, right? And so I immediately, it's like, oh, it's in that book, and I'll go grab the book off the shelf and start flipping through it until I kind of have this idea about where it's found in the book. Don't ask me why.
It's sickening. It's crazy. I'll ask about a subject, and the next day there will be 15 books on my desk, and he'll have a sticky note on the page of each one. It's pretty ridiculous.
That's what I do, okay? And I'll just start referencing it. And sometimes in a book, I don't have one of the ones up here. I've got these little flags, and I'll have different colors. So, if I'm looking at a particular book, Nicholas Cresswell's book is a great example of that. I'll have like green tag, that's a food reference. And sometimes I'll just go through on a book like that that's chock full of great references. It's just like, okay, every time food shows up, boom, 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 boom. It's kind of like my own indexing system, but not a specific word, but more like a category. And so I'll use a book like that and just kind of, read through, and you'll never know what you're going to find when you dig through the book from cover to cover. That's the great part. There was some research back when we were doing the chemical leavening series, and I did some generic searching to find a particular book that had information about chemical leavening in the 18th century. And I ran into this book that had, that kind of popped up in the search, had some little information on one particular page. It was a really weird book that I was kind of half scientific in the time period. And I decided, hey, I never know what might show up later on in this book. It seems like it's just dead boring. But I went ahead and read the whole thing. Wow, I found gold in like 3 or 4 other places that I would never have found it if I was just doing a word search. Never. But when I read through the whole thing, it had such great information in it and exactly what I wanted. So sometimes you just gotta read it cover to cover.
What sort of toys did children play with, and did poorer children have any?
We had was one of the questions that came up at the conference about kids and teenagers and when kids were thought to be adults and what they thought about kids in the 18th century. And children were children until they reached a particular age, and then they were mini adults and then adults. And toys and childhood was really a thing that grows up in the 19th century, where that sort of nostalgia happens and all that kind of fun stuff. In the 18th century, there were toys. There just weren't as many, and they certainly didn't spend a lot of money on that, especially for common, kids. I mean, rich kids, they always have toys. You like royalty or whatever. They always have these amazing toys, which were probably quite rare in the time period. They were certainly little figurines, little pewter tokens, and things that might look like little watches. There were some simplistic, fun little toys in the time period. Little soldiers occasionally. Let's say marbles might show up, although they're more 19th century, but some of those kinds of things show up in the 18th century. It's just not as common. Tops, hoops, and sticks. There's some good ones.
What herbs can you add to hardtack that doesn't deter it from its storability or shelf life?
Well, you could probably add some herbs that would increase its storage ability and shelf life. But did they do it in the 18th century? And I have no documentation that was actually done. The hardtack was really sort of an ingredient to be created into other things, or to be sort of soaked in coffee or tea to be eaten as it was. I think most of the time, ship's biscuits and hardtack really was meant to be a very, very simple ingredient, and I have not seen. I know we want to put spices in it. We want to put herbs in it. We want to do things with it. I just don't see any documentation for that.
What were the hygiene practices of men and women in the 1800s? How often did one bathe?
That's cultural, and it's so. I mean, there's so many different things going on in North America and in England at the time, and different parts of the continent. So that's a very regional and very cultural thing that's different within all those different groups. So I'm not going to give you a real hard and fast answer. There is a Q&A that we did on hygiene in the 18th century, a very popular video on the channel. You can kind of go back and check that out. They probably, for a lot of them, they did not bathe nearly as often as we do today. But, you know, answering it very generically is very, very difficult to do.
All right, let's talk about Martin Station.
Okay. Martin Station is coming up. It's this weekend, and it's going to looks like it's going to be a wonderful event. If you're in that Western Virginia area, Kentucky, Southern Kentucky, Northern Tennessee, if you're anywhere in that little tip of Virginia, make sure to go to Martin Station. It's a wonderful event, a wonderful location. Such a great set of people there. We're going to be there. We've done a lot of videos at that location. Wonderful event. It's Saturday and Sunday. There's a link down in the description section.
I checked the weather, and it's going to be awesome.
It is. It's going to be.
It's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And how about what your drinking vessel? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, we've got these tea bowls. You can use them for a lot of different things. I use them to put ingredients in when I'm doing cooking episodes. You can put sauces in them. They're great as a tea bowl. If you don't want to eat too much ice cream, then you use a little bowl like this. Yeah. So we've got these. These are a special bowl that we have on the website right now, a special price. Very, very nice. Similar to very 18th century designs. So these little bowls are available on the website. You'll find them in the description section.
All right, Kyle, let's get some more questions.
Questions.
Alrighty. Are there any type of myths or folklore that is unique to early American frontiers, like trolls in Scandinavia, fairies in historical Britain?
Well, generally, what happens is those kind of folklores and legends generally come in with the culture that the people had wherever they're coming from, right? So, Irish folks are going to have Wendigos, and those are, French might have Wendigos. These different cultures that come in to North America are going to bring in their own little pieces of folklore, and so you see those popping up, and they're sort of adaptation to North America. And there's certain quantities of that folklore that come in and mix with the Native American folklore and make their own unique kind of version. I don't think you see a whole lot of it coming up out of whole cloth in North America, although there's this little book called New England Rarities that kind of has some interesting takes on that, sort of strange things that they thought were populating North America that, today we're going, I don't know what little animal they were trying to reference. But there are some similarities to that kind of myth and legend that show up.
What's the difference between a Prussian and a Hessian?
The Hessians, I'm probably not the best person to answer that. The Hessians are a very specific little sort of mini state or state within the German states at the time. We think of Germany today as this holistic giant nation, or even two nations 20 or 30 years ago with East Germany and West Germany. But in the 18th century, it was a whole bunch of little states or little kingdoms or baronnesses with these different leaders, and different segments of those might be called Hessians, like the guys from Hesse Castle, okay? But other ones had different names, and so Prussia is a different segment of Germany than, say, Hessians, which are a very small little enclave. There are just these particular little nation states within what we call Germany that sent soldiers to North America and they got called Hessians as a lump. But even then, they were really, Hessians were only from one specific of those nation states. Hopefully that was it.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Ryan had to go help a customer. So do you want to talk about the Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram, every week we pick out an Instagram winner. Anybody who, if you hashtag Townsend's or do an @Townsend's_official, that helps us find it on Instagram. We pick out something that's related, we think is interesting and neat. And this one's, is it SD News?
Yeah.
Or I can't remember the name of that.
Hold on. Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie.
News. I believe
Stephanie
is her
News.
name.
Yes, that's the winner this week. You've got it up on the screen there.
Yeah, it's her son. What did Ryan say?
Yeah, I can't remember his name now.
Man. Oh, Wyatt.
Yeah, Wyatt,
Yeah,
and
he was-
he's dressed up there as Davy Crockett.
Yep.
Great picture, and they've got a great Instagram channel. That's the winner for this week. If you want to participate, make sure to hashtag Townsend's and have something that relates to what we do here on the channel. So you can have a recipe, you can have a historical picture, whatever that is. And each week we pick out a new one. So please join in, and I want to thank everyone who has participated in the past and continues to participate from that. It's so much fun going through Instagram, checking out what people are doing.
So I guess we can start kind of. Oh, one thing before we go. Monday, it's not going to be a cooking video. It's going to be another skills video with Cole Cracker. I'm not going to say what it is.
Yes,
but
we've
it's
got
going to be a skills video.
another Cold Cracker episode coming up. One of those wilderness skills there. Part of the American experience, or the American frontier episodes that we're doing. We have a bunch of those we're planning right now and continuing to shoot. Some of the videos we are doing right now are just standard channel ones, but most of them we're really kind of concentrating on this American frontier experience that's going on. There is so much to cover here. We're in talks with a couple of different sites. And I got some really cool projects kind of in the hopper right now that we're working on. So some fun, exciting episodes.
It's going to be
an
an awesome summer. I think.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. I think we're good.
So, wow. I want to thank these guys and Ryan for all their hard work back there. And I especially want to reach out and thank Patara of Appalachia's Homestead and her channel for the conference. That was so much fun. Everybody who was at the conference, it was a blast. Thank you so much. Everyone who's been participating on the channel, all your great comments, and all the great support we get, whether it's on Patreon or whether you just share our videos. Really, you're what keep us going. So thank you so much for all the great questions today, and thanks for watching.